My name is Dom. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically make bookish content, movie content, and anything else in between because I like to do whatever I want on this channel. And today's going to be bookish content. We are doing a tag video today. I have not done a tag video in so long, but today I'm doing the School Days book tag. This was created by Victoria over at What Victoria Reads. I'll link her channel down below. I was tagged by Olivia Savannah over at Olivia's Catastrophe. I will tag her down below as well. So I'm no longer in school. I graduated college in 2019. It's been 2 years already. I have my cap with me. It's in my thumbnail, but this is my cap. This quote was taken from The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak because that's one of my favorite books. I absolutely adore this quote. So in celebration of it being 2 years since I graduated, it's going to be 2 years as of May 10th, and I don't know when I'm uploading this video, but I know it's going to be around then. No, May 11th. May 11th is the 2-year anniversary. That's kind of scary to think about. For this tag, what you're really supposed to do is just answer the questions you want to do, but I want to answer all of them because I am an overachiever, and plus all the questions are really cool. So let's just get started. So the first section is the time of day. I almost dropped my phone. First bell. Tell us about the book that first got you into reading. So the first few books I can really think of are Junie B. Jones because I read a lot of those throughout 1st to 3rd grade, and it's what I would really read. But it wasn't until 6th grade that I became like a true reader, and that's because of Roald Dahl books. But especially Matilda by Roald Dahl. This is my favorite by his. It was like one of my favorite books that I read in 6th grade. To this day, it's still one of my favorite books. Matilda is one of my favorite characters of all time because she loves to read. She uses books when she feels alone. I feel that, and the illustrations are great. This copy is so old. I think I bought this copy when I was 11 years old, so this is definitely, the pages are yellowed. It's definitely one of the oldest books on my bookshelves. I have read it twice, and I'm thinking about rereading it. Then we have break time. Which book have you most recently had to take a break from or DNF? I don't really do this. If I DNF a book, that means I DNF'd it for good because I rarely do DNF. So if I DNF a book, then you know I don't like it. Lunchtime. Tell us about your favorite book that features food. I couldn't really think of a fictional book for this, so I'm just going to talk about my favorite cookbook. I received Snoop Dogg's cookbook for Christmas. Not this past Christmas, but the Christmas of 2019. And I have made a majority of the meals in it. And they are so good. I love it. Whenever I need to make something for my family, I always refer to that cookbook because they love it and it's a good time. Final bell. Which book have you most recently finished reading? So that will be The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. This took a long time for me to read. It took me over a month to finish this because this book is dense. I ended up giving it 2.5 stars out of 5 just because of how boring it was. Very, very descriptive, but at the same time, Tolkien, please. Move on. I understand we're not supposed to read this for the end game. We have to read it for the journey. But it was hard to get into. Homework. Tell us what was the last nonfiction book you read and enjoyed. The last nonfiction book I read was I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. I finished this last month. I talk about this in my April wrap-up. This is about a woman who was living in Pakistan. She was standing up to the right for women to have an education because the Taliban were trying to ban it, but she wanted to keep it. And she ended up getting shot by the Taliban. So this nonfiction book is basically the autobiography of her life. She doesn't just focus on the shooting. She's a very, very brave woman. She's did a lot of things I do not have the balls to do. And I loved reading about that experience. Staff room. Tell us about a book that you go to when you need to take a break. I usually go to a certain manga, not graphic novel, and I will get to that later, but another one is actually Twilight, because when I was 12, first reading the books, I would fold down my favorite pages, so sometimes I'll go through the book, reread those parts that I folded down, whenever I'm feeling down, that's when I'll go to them, and it's a good time. So now we move on to part 2 of this tag, which is subjects. English. Tell us about one book you studied at school, and recommend one book that you would like to add to the curriculum. So one book I studied at school was 1984 by George Orwell. This is actually one of my favorite books I ever had to read for school, and it's one of my top 10 favorite books of all time. If you don't know what this is about a dystopian world. Shit ensues, blah, blah, blah. Guy trying to break free, but can he really? The famous phrase 2 + 2 = 5. This is where the phrase comes from, and it kind of just freaked me out. But I'm noticing a lot now people love to quote this book when it comes to politics. Yeah, I would love to reread this book. I just don't know when I'll do it. I am trying to reread a book I had to read for school every month this year. I had to read this my junior year of high school. Junior year of high school is not till November, so this might be the read just to give me an excuse to, reread a book I used to love. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time. I just got the cover. Like, the cover's supposed to be an eye because, you know, Big Brother's watching you. Took me a while to figure that out because I'm a dumbass. But then a book I would actually recommend for people to read in class is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This is historical fiction. So this takes place during World War II, and it's two separate stories. One is Marie Laure, who's a French girl living in Nazi-occupied France, and another is about Werner, who is a German boy living in Nazi Germany. Their stories are told as two separate intervals, and as these type of things do, at one point their stories do coincide. And funny enough, this isn't like my favorite read of all time. I only gave this 3 out of 5 stars because the story itself was kind of boring. It's very, very character driven. I'm more of a plot driven person, but the writing is exquisite, and as bored as I got sometimes, I still hold these characters very, very dear to my heart. Another reason I would recommend this to schools is just because it is a different perspective of World War II. You get to see how other people were affected, including the people of Germany, and also disability route, because the main character, Marie Laure, I think that's how you pronounce her name, but Marie Laure is a blind girl, so you get to see how a blind girl maneuvers Paris, France. And it is just a beautiful story. I could see this being read to in an English class, but I could also see it being studied in a history class, so maybe those two classes can work together. Math, how do you rate your books? I do the 5-star scale that Goodreads provides. Sometimes I do half stars, sometimes I do 0.75. I don't really have a specific criteria, really. 5 out of 5 stars means absolute perfection. 4 out of 5 stars means great. It's just something about it wasn't completely 5 stars. Sometimes I know what that is. Sometimes I'm just not feeling it, and I can't tell you what it is because even I don't even know. 3 stars is like, it's a good book, but like, it's not a favorite. 2 stars is like, I didn't hate the book, but I didn't like it either. And 1 star is just throw the book away. Science. Which book couple do you think has the best chemistry? That will be Alice and Jasper from Twilight, and I still love them to this day. They were my OTP back in middle school. Still love them to this day. I am still waiting on their book. I'm tired of reading about Edward and Bella. I don't want to read about them anymore. I want a book about Alice and Jasper. Geography. Describe a book that had a strong sense of place or great world building. Surprisingly, I'm actually going to go with The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I was kind of bored reading this as well, but I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Boring as I find his books to be, J.R.R. Tolkien is great at description, and he is great at creating this world. Like, I would love to go to Lothlorien, that land of the elves we see in Fellowship of the Ring. This book just gave me the vibes that it was like a campfire story. Like, I felt like the vibes I was getting, I'm sitting around a campfire in the dark with my friends and someone's telling us a story, and it's this one. History. Which 3 historical fiction novels have you most enjoyed? First, we have The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, which is actually my favorite book of all time, and I want a quote from this book tattooed on my arm. If you don't know what this is about, this takes place in Nazi Germany. It's about a girl named Liesel who doesn't know how to read, but she wants to learn, so she begins to steal books. That's the general gist of it. The main lesson of the book is actually the importance of words, and it's told in Death's point of view, which I think is really cool. I also cried reading this book. This book is the reason I can't trust other books ever again. Another historical fiction I read was Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. This is a circus story, and it's just about a guy who joins a circus, and he befriends an elephant. And that's kind of all I remember from it. A lot of this book I actually kind of forgot, but I remember really enjoying it, and I could not put the book down, and it does talk about the dangers of circus and how they treated their animals. I thought it was a good look into it, and it was very emotional. It's also a romance too. Ooh, this book like yellowed over the years. Holy fuck. It's so weird to me because there's that one line that didn't yellow. It's just white. And then the last book I'm going to talk about for this question is All Quiet on the Western Front by Eric Maria Remarque. This is considered, right, like as the title, not the title, as the cover says, it's considered the greatest war novel of all time. This takes place during World War I, and it is in the point of view of the German army. The author was, if I remembered my history correctly, he was in the German army. I don't know about the army specifically, but definitely the German military. He wanted to write like fictionalized point of views of the war to show the horrors of the war. This is about a group of friends who join the war because they think it's going to be some big adventure, and then in the end you kind of just learn the tragedy of the war. This was really sad, but it was a really great book. Religious studies. Which book is the one you always come back to? So, a book I always come back to, this relates to that question that I skipped, but it's going to be Tokyo Ghoul by Sui Ishida. So I started reading this manga series online. I have read all 14 volumes of the original series. I'm currently 12 volumes into Re, which is the sequel series, And all my favorite chapters are bookmarked for my favorite spots. Like, there's just so many moments in this manga that I absolutely love. Also, can we talk about this art? I wish I could draw like that. I talk about it a lot in this channel, but if you don't know what this is about a boy who just wants to go on a date, but he's living in Tokyo, which is running amok with ghouls, which are creatures that eat humans. His date goes wrong, and then he gets an organ transplant, and now he's half human and half ghoul. He doesn't like that, so he's trying to come to terms with that, and it's just very... It's a lot. It's a lot. I love his mental anguish. I live for his mental anguish. The theme song of the anime slaps. I've never actually seen the anime, but that theme song is so good. Kaneki's just one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. He is my husband. My ship in this series is one of my favorite ships of all time. This makes me want to read the book The Metamorphosis by Frank Kafka, I think. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that that's actually where the author got inspiration for the story, so I need to get my hands on that book soon. Drama. Which book do you think has the best ending? Endings are so hard, so I'm just going to go with a book that made me cry, but that was A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Ooh, like, it's like one of those books where you see the ending coming, but it's just the way it's written that makes you emotional. Like, literal tears stream down my face. So this is about a boy whose mom is dying of terminal cancer. He's having a very hard time coming to terms with that. But every night at 12:07 a.m. a monster comes and they have to tell 4 stories. The first 3 stories are told by the monster, but the boy has to come up with the 4th story. It's just heartbreaking, and that ending, man. Art. Show us 3 books that you think have the best covers. We have Mouse 2 by Art Spiegelman. The actual title is Mouse 2, A Survivor's Tale, and Here My Troubles Began. This is a biography of the author's father's life trying to survive World War II, but he depicts everyone as animals. The Jews are mice, the Germans are cats, the Polish are pigs, I think, yes, and the French are frogs, and I just love how haunting this cover is. We also have The Body by Stephen King, and then we have An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon. The last question is modern foreign languages. Recommend a translated book that you enjoyed. I really enjoyed Silence by Shushaku Endo. So this is translated from Japanese. So this takes place in 1600s Japan. This is during a time where Christianity was illegal in Japan, and 2 Portuguese priests find out that one of their friends who was doing missionary work denounced Jesus in public. So they are assigned a mission in Japan to not only preach the gospel, but to also get their friend to come back to the church. And the moral of the story is just essentially, what would Jesus do given a certain time? Would he do what we think is morally correct, or would he do something that causes the least amount of harm? And there's a lot of moral conflict, a lot of religious conflict in this. The time this copy was written, according to the forward, Shushaku Endo was like a rare POV in Japan. He was a Japanese Catholic. Maybe I am biased just because I grew up in the Catholic religion, and that's why I found this so interesting. But I would recommend this to anyone who has any interest in learning about religion and morals, and how religion can conflict with people's morals, or how religion can just affect people's everyday lives. So that is it for this tag. The last question is to actually tag other people, and I am tagging Opal over at Opalescent. I was going to tag Abby at Abby Appellanor, but she already did this, but I'm going to link their channels down below anyway. And that's all I have for you guys. It is 12:30 in the morning. It is time to go to bed, so I'm not going to drag out this outro or anything, but if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe, y'all know the drill, and without further ado, I'm going to peace out and I'll see you guys later. Ciao, tutti.